So we will get started. I'm going to share my screen with you in a moment. We have got 35 minutes, so it's not a very long session for introduction to Teams, but that is what we're going to do. I'm going to take you as if you were beginners and show you what Teams is capable of, and hopefully you'll get a good idea of what it does and what its functions are, to inform you whether it's something that's going to work for you moving forward. Cool. So let me just start sharing my screen with you. What is Teams? Teams is your online collaboration, communication, and workflow tool. Just to give you a bit of background, I was a classroom teacher for 14 years, and I've been doing this job with Using Technology Better as a trainer for 3 years. Before I started this job, I hadn't really used Microsoft tools for a long, long time. And now we use them all the time, and Teams is our main form of communication. Just going to jump out of full screen for a second and just double check that the comments are okay and you can see what I can see. It looks like you can. That's fabulous. Alrighty. So Teams was very new to me when I started. We use it all day, every day. And I find it absolutely brilliant. It has cut down on email. It has cut down on missing things and not understanding things, and it's all there for you to go back to. So what is Microsoft Teams? It's your digital hub, brings your conversations into one space. It can be used for text discussion. So little short discussions, longer discussions, video calls, collaborating with team members to put things together. You can integrate existing things that you use into Teams as well. So one of the questions that we get from quite a few G Suite schools is, can we use this alongside things like Google Classroom and Google Drive? And the answer is yes, you absolutely can. Or within the Office and Microsoft environment, there are tools that do similar things to those G Suite tools as well. So some people just use what's there, and some people integrate it with their existing things as well. If you are having trouble viewing this, I'm just going to jump back and check any questions just at the start as we go. No one's writing too many dramatic comments, so it looks like we might be okay. If you want to not see me, in fact, I'll turn my camera off. Double click on the screen where you see the presentation, and that will make that part of the screen bigger. Okay. Hold on one moment. Here we go. Right. So when you go to use Microsoft Teams, you might go to it, probably going to go through the Office 365 portal, or you'll have the app downloaded to your device. Either way, you're going to get the same thing, but one will be operating in your browser, one will be on your desktop. So browser, when you do it here, it just becomes a new tab inside Edge or whichever browser that you are using. And it's an easy way to access it on any device that doesn't have the Teams app installed. The desktop app is great if it is one of your key things that you use all the time, because you can be doing whatever you want with web apps and it will always have your Teams open. That's how I do things. I have the Team app open on my device and I'm working online often on other things too. When you come into Teams, if you've already got one, you can set up your own team. So there's a join or create button at the top. And once you've clicked on join or create, it asks you to make a team. We're going to talk about different teams and types of teams in just a second. Or you can join one, and that would be when somebody's maybe emailed you a code. Often people will just invite you to a team and you'll get an email, click on that and it will bring you through. There's two ways to view your teams. There's a grid view and there's a list view, and you can change that in the settings. So it's just important to know, because sometimes people are opening this up alongside somebody else and the view is completely different, but you can see here that it's the same space, just viewed differently. I'm just going to check if we've got any questions, and can you just let me know in the chat, can someone just let me know if it's all coming through clear and okay, and then I will jump back into that slide. All good, thanks Jacqueline, that's awesome. Okay, so jump back in. So cool. The spaces that you have inside Teams, you have down on the left-hand side, you have this bar. This bar down on the left-hand side is called the Me space. So this is where you control what you see. Because Teams is a collaborative environment, being called Teams, that's what it's there for. You control your spaces within it, but you also have spaces that you'll be able to see what's going on with other people too. So the Me space, or the At bar, that's an area for you to flick between what section of Teams you are looking at. The next part over is still part of the Me space, and what this is showing you are the teams that you're in and the channels. So in this one that we're looking at, the teams are Language Arts 101, Algebra 101, this one here, which is the same, sorry, that was 102, not 101, a chess team and a test team. Underneath the name of the team, we have what we call channels, and we're going to talk more about teams and channels really soon. But just so you know that this is your main heading for the team, and the channels within the team are different areas for that team. Along the top of the We space, you will see the team that you are in, the channel that you are in that team. And you can see down the left-hand side here, it's also indicated there. And at the moment, this is on conversations or chat. And we can see here the messages that are flowing through in a really similar way to Facebook Messenger or anything with a messenger system. The latest one comes in underneath and you flow on through. This is called the canvas space, what we see when we're in here. So what's selected on this example, like I said, is conversations or chat. And then this particular channel, the general channel, has got these other spaces as well. And these spaces can be designed and developed by you. You can link to websites, you can link to documents like Word documents or spreadsheets or anything which can be living inside of here. You can even link to things like a Flipgrid, so it's sitting inside Teams for your students to go to from there. It can be opened onto a web page as well, but it is there to start with, which is one of the beautiful things about Teams, keeping everything together, making it really simple for you and your students or your colleagues to work with Teams. You can see here that things collapse, so see more. If I was to click on that, I would see all the other responses there as well. The profile space, so up here in the top right, this is where you access the information about your profile. So this is where you can put your picture in, you can decide if you want to be available or not available, how you get notifications, and so on from there. So making a team, I seem to be missing a slide actually. There are different types of teams. I am missing a slide, I apologize. I'll add that into the OneNote later on. So there's different types of teams that you can choose from. You can have a class team, so that would be what you would probably want to use with your students. And this one that we're looking at now is a class team. I can tell because it's come built out with a class notebook, conversations, files, and assignments. Okay, so this is pre-populated in here because it's a class team. It allows you to push work to your students with assignments, and it generates a OneNote, a special type of OneNote called a class notebook, and it allows you to work within OneNote within this space too. If you choose a PLD team, it works in a similar way, but with different settings, because a PLD team would be one you might use with your staff. And as you can see down the side here, you can be involved in multiple teams with multiple different settings there as well. I'm just going to take a quick pause there and jump back and just check we're still going okay. All good. Any questions in there? What device am I using, Victoria? I'm on a Surface Pro, which is a pretty beautiful machine. I'm presenting to you with PowerPoint, so I can use digital inking in this as well, which is fantastic. And that's where you're seeing the digital ink come through on the PowerPoint there. All right, so I'm guessing everything's coming through sweet. I'll jump back in. I'll add that information about the different types of teams to the OneNote for you. I apologize for not having that there. Don't know where it disappeared to. Once you've made a team, which is pretty simple to do from that create or join a team button at the very start when you go into Teams, once you've got it, to find a team code, you would click on the three dots that are beside the team under your teams. And what we're looking at here is the same as we were, but there's no, we're not seeing any channels sitting there as well. Okay, and from there, from the three dots, they will bring up this menu. The 3 dots, I always like to tell my students or people like teachers I work with that this is an ellipsis, right? Which means there's more to come. So when you click on the ellipsis, it gives you that menu. From Manage Team, you can come to the Settings option, and then you'll see your team code here. If I was using this with students, I would just present this to them on the board. They go to that first page in Teams, click on Join, type that code in, and they're there. You can also copy and paste that code out and put it into like an email or wherever you want it to go to, a class notebook or whatever. You can also just copy the link to the team from there. You can also add members directly to your team from this menu as well. And that's what my next slide shows you. So I was one step ahead of myself there. So you can manage your members, who's in your team and what access they have. So members, there are different options hidden inside there as well. You can have co-owners. So you could change Samantha to be an owner with me. So 2 teachers with the same access rights within the team there too. So organising your teams and your channels. So channels are the sections within a team to keep conversations organised. So this is where you might have, for one class that you have, multiple channels depending on the topics or the things that you're working on. The conversation space will always be there, so that the chat space that you saw will always be part of a team. Every time you create a team, it creates a general channel straight away. If you want to add teams into it, you can add teams from the 3-dot menu beside the team name. Channels can be open to all team members. So I might have all of my history class in here, in the class itself, in the team. And in here, if I wanted to use that for project work, I might have a team called France and one for Japan if they're doing some culture studies. And then in France, I might have student A, B, and C have access. And for Japan, D, E, and F. So this has now created a workspace for those students to be able to go in and use just for them. And they'll get all of those things that we've been talking about in that channel. So they'll get their conversation space, the ability to store and share files. They can connect to a OneNote. They can drop useful websites or whatever else they want to in there too. So customizing your team. If you want to customize it, you click on the 3 dots, the ellipsis that we talked about. You can enter a name and an optional description for your channel from here as well. So this is, if you click on, if you go into here, you'll be able to change all of that, a description too. The privacy, this is where you can decide if everybody, sorry, this is for the channel. So within the team, this is where you create a channel and you choose if it's for everybody or for selected people. So if you choose this, you will then have the option to add people in that you want to. So there's just a little tip down the bottom here saying that a private channel is great when needing work area for groups. So like I showed you before. Encourage student collaboration. So teams can be a really fun place. Some organizations turn off the fun stuff pretty quickly. My suggestion to you would be, particularly for students, leave the fun stuff on and hopefully they'll use it responsibly. If they don't, great learning opportunity to talk about what's appropriate and what setting. So you've got social, it's like social media. It's built in with these cool stickers and GIFs and all sorts that you can put in there too. Get them to interact to start with. So one of my favorite things to do when I first introduce this to either teachers, educators, anybody or students is to get them to make a post and push all the buttons. So add as many things as you can, go crazy, and then we'll all have a look. You might make a separate channel for that. That's just called mucking around or playing or whatever. This is where you can store your files. So great to have all of those there as well. So communicating with your students, obviously, if you want to communicate with the whole team, you would post a message in that general channel because everybody's automatically included in that channel. If you wanted to post to individual channels, so those project sort of based groups, then you would put that in the chat there. But if you want to talk to individual students, then you can come to the chat option in your me bar, the app bar down the side. And that is just like Messenger. So you can choose who you want to message. This is how you start a new message. And then you can see here, it's like back and forward. You can have more than one person in a chat as well. So you could have 3 or 4. You can even name that chat, as you can see here. So an example of this is that within our team, we've actually got a chat that's called Microsoft Immersion 2020. So we've got a chat group, not a channel and not a team, but a chat group where we've been putting all of our information about this. It's got all of the links we've needed. We're talking in it as we speak right now. Some of our other presenters are talking and problem solving if anything else is going on, making sure we're all keeping to time and that sort of thing. Save important messages. So quite often you might see a message in that flow that's actually really important, but you can't action it and you need to come back to it later. Or it's something you think, oh, I need that. I've always wondered about that. So what you can do is, again, at the top of the message, you'll find a little ellipsis when you hover on it. And you come up and you hover over the 3 dots and you'll be able to save this message. And to access your saved messages, you go to your profile space and you click on saved and it will show you every message that you have saved. Really efficient way to use this and to not lose different things. Now, Immersive Reader. So some of you lovely Blends people will probably be really interested in knowing that Immersive Reader is built into Teams, which is pretty epic. If you haven't come across Immersive Reader before, I can definitely show you some of that at the end of this session. But basically what it does is if there's a message here, they can again go to the 3 dots, come to Immersive Reader. That will open this text inside Immersive Reader, which will have it read aloud to them. They can change font size, they can change contrast and colors of text, all sorts of things. They can look for different types of words. There is a picture dictionary for the students who need extra support with literacy. There is translation tools all built in. So you can use that within Teams to make it really accessible for everybody, which is perfect. The tip on this page is one that we definitely use a lot in our organisation. So let your teacher or your colleague or whoever it is know that you've read the post. So often what we'll do in the team, if we don't actually need them to reply or respond, but it's just sharing information, we'll type the message out and we'll say, please thumbs up if you've read this. And as they finish reading it, they'll do a thumbs up. And you can then hover over all the thumbs up and see exactly who's done that. So it's a great way to acknowledge that they've read something and they've seen it before. So the other thing you can do with Teams is schedule meetings. So meetings in Teams include audio, video, and screen sharing too. So this is one of the key ways you can communicate. And this is something that has become more and more powerful throughout 2020 because of remote teaching and learning, and schools and educators using Teams as their base for their lessons, for their for their virtual tutorials and things like that. So a few ways that you can do it. So you can send a link to your students. So you create a team and then you send them a link to that meeting that they then click on and it will open Teams for them. They'll just need to be logged in. You can add it to a calendar for a team. So within your Me space in the app bar, you can go to your calendar, you can find the time and the date, you can schedule a meeting and invite people from here as well. If it's for a whole channel, you can add it to that channel. It's really great doing that if it is for everybody that's in the general history class channel, because to get to that team, they can actually just find it by going to that channel and clicking on the button. So super, super easy. Meet now with your students is another great way. Meeting in a channel, just let your students know which channel. And down the bottom, you can click on the, you can't see it on this one actually, but you can click on the little video camera icon and that will start a meeting. And your students will just click on the Meet Now to join you in that meeting. Super straightforward. Just checking my time here. Oh, good, we're going okay. If you do this in the general channel, it means that anybody in the science team can join. So keep that in mind. If you're wanting to call just 1 or 2 students, you're going to come to that through chat and start a call that way. If these were project groups, you would start that call in one of the project group channels. You can provide a dial-in number if they do not have the Teams app. And you've got options for managing the meeting as well, which is probably quite important. So this has got better and better throughout this year. You can create it so that they can't come in automatically. So here this option is who can bypass the lobby. Everyone means that as soon as the call's going, everybody can get in. If you change that to no one, then you'll have to allow them to get in as they come through. Announce when callers leave or join, and who can present. So initially, Teams didn't have this function where you could limit who was able to share their screen. So it's great to have that there now, because you can imagine all sorts of things would have been going on. What's the tip there? This is a live link until the meeting is cancelled. So once you're done, you just need to finish that off and cancel the meeting, which you can see up here. And that's what the next slide shows you too. So icons when you're in a meeting. So when you're in a team meeting, this is what the bottom of the screen will look like. If you click on this and this, that will turn off and on your audio and your microphone. Really great etiquette to not have your mic on unless you're speaking. We also practice in our team, you always have your video on unless you are having poor Wi-Fi, it's messing with your connection or anything like that. And it's just a way to connect with each other. We are a remote team using technology better, so we use this on every call unless there's a specific reason not to. Sharing your screen, the 3 dots will give you this menu here as well. Students can notify teachers if they want to talk. This is a chat within the call. And this chat, if you are in a channel, will be going through that channel too. So it'll be kept in the chat within the channel. If I've lost you on that one, please don't worry. You can see who's in the meeting if you click here, and that will have you leave the meeting. Another point to note here is if you're you can record the call, but only if you are, it depends on the settings you've got things set up, but often that's for the person who's created the meeting can start the recording. So this is a really great way to make sure that if you are delivering lessons or you're talking about anything that the students might want to go over, you can use that there. You can also start a meeting by yourself and record any messages for your students in a really quick way and have those posted out too. These meetings will be saved in Microsoft Stream, which is a really impressive and awesome tool for storing those videos, and it comes with a transcript as well. That bottom bit says you'll receive an email with the link to the recording, and that would be where it's saved in Stream. When you share your screen, as you probably already know, is you have options for what you want to share. But one of the really cool things with Teams is that you also have this option to open a whiteboard. A whiteboard, depending on if you add this in, you can do this on any device, I believe now, but it's a blank space where you can draw on it. But not only that, your attendees will also be able to draw on it too. So a really great collaboration space that you see live in the view within your Teams call. To stop sharing, you'll click on the same button. It'll have a cross when you are sharing. Managing students during a meeting. So you can see there that you can mute participants. You can pin them, which means they stay in your view. You can remove them if you need to. And if they were an organizer, you can turn them into an attendee so that they don't have the same access rights that you do. If you want them to present, then you make them a presenter. That would say make a presenter rather than make an attendee, and that would switch them so they're able to share their screen and have more access rights. So leaving a meeting, when it's over, you want to make sure it ends, because there were some issues with students staying in meetings after they'd been finished. So when it's over and you want to ensure it's finished, you can remove the participants from the call and you need to end that meeting. This is an amazing space that I highly recommend, and this I will make sure the link is in the OneNote for you, but it's an interactive demo of Teams. So you can click inside a real or a demonstration of a team and see how everything works for yourself. It takes you through, it's all guided, it's pretty awesome. It was definitely something I used when I was first getting to know Teams. Now, if you're already using Teams in your organization, but you think it could be used better, please reach out to us, either in the feedback form or by email, because we've actually got some access to be able to deliver some free training for organizations that are already using Teams and want to improve. So that would be an amazing way for us to connect with your organization and support you with Teams. So get in touch with us and we'll see where that's all at and come back to you with that one. So as the guys said at the start of the workshop or conference today, you are able to redeem a code within the Microsoft Education Community or Centre, I think it is now, and that allows you to get acknowledgement for attending these courses. This shortened URL will show you a video on how to do it, and then at the end of the session, we'd love you to fill in this feedback form for us. Or I actually was still working in a school when they started the conference today, so perhaps they said to do it after each session or maybe one at the end. So whatever they said is probably the way to go. When you're presenting in PowerPoint, for those of you interested in that inking, it comes up down the bottom here, and you've got some options to use a laser pointer, a pen, a highlighter, and change the colors too. I hope you could see that part. I'm not actually convinced you could, but I'll jump back over to here now. Again, let us know if we can help you with anything. And thank you so much for joining us.